Happy Sunday, everyone, and welcome to Our Issues Birmingham. I'm delighted to have an old friend, and I do mean that in the literal sense, State Representative Jim Hill from District 50, which is St. Clair County. Jim, it's good to see you in this capacity. Jim was former circuit judge in St. Clair County, and we had business together for many years. How are you, sir?
I'm great, Connie. How are you?
Oh, I'm hanging in there. I get to do this periodically, and it's a good diversion for me.
Well, good.
So what's been
Good to
going?
see. It's been too long. It's been too long since I've run into you, but I always enjoyed it. Yes, I'm in District 50, which is sort of the southwest part of St. Clair County. If you'll think Moody, Springville, Argo, Odenville, up around maybe Chula Vista, Cook Springs.
Margaret. Margaret.
Indeed, Margaret. Yes, Margaret. That's the part of St. Clair County that I represent.
Margaret is where my grandfather immigrated to work in the coal mines that belonged to the DeBartolome family back in the day.
That is an old community here in this county. Now, what would amaze him, is he passed away?
Yes, he died before I was even born.
Okay. What would amaze him is the difference in Margaret today, because it is basically a residential community. Within the last few years, we built a very large elementary school right in the middle of Margaret to serve the families that have moved into that area. From there, they go on either to Springville High School or to Odenville High School. Sort of depends on where they live. But the growth that has been in Margaret, I'd say in the last 15, 20 years is absolutely unbelievable, and it continues to grow.
Well, take us on your track to where you are now in the state legislature. So, okay. Because you bring to the state legislature a perception and a knowledge base that many of your fellow legislators don't have the luxury of having.
My experience, I started practicing law in 1975. I graduated from Cumberland Law School and passed the bar in 75 and started practicing and practiced for 19 years, Tommy, just doing a general, mostly civil, some criminal, just a general type of practice. Represented several cities out here, Leeds, Moody. Then in 94, was elected to the district court bench, which of course is a trial level bench that does a lot of what we do there is juvenile, misdemeanor, criminal, small claims, civil, things like that. And in 2004, got elected to the circuit court bench, which of course is the court of general jurisdiction. Did that until almost the end of 2013. So all total about 19 years on the bench. My son is a lawyer here in Moody, and I wanted to have the opportunity to go back and practice with him, and I've done that. And it's been a really wonderful experience. In 2014, I ran for and was elected to the Alabama State House as a state representative from District 50, which is the area we just talked about, that south or southwest part of St. Clair County. So it's a very growing area. In fact, give you a little example, Tommy. Excuse me. When I moved to Moody, which would have been in 79, the 1980 census in Moody was about 2,000 people. The 2020 census in Moody, we went over 12.
Wow. Well, that's good growth.
In my part of this county, the growth in my county has been astronomical over the last, say, 40 years.
So with this experience, you end up in the state legislature, and I know you're very active in reform as it relates, from my perspective, especially to the criminal justice system. So right. Talk to us a little bit about, for example, budget is always an issue in the state. Talk to us a little bit about that and what we're doing with some of the funds we've gotten from the COVID contributions of the federal government and how we're applying and using those funds.
You know, I'm the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, which means that probably 200 bills a year that are filed in the House end up in my committee. Of course, we can't hear that many, but that's how many that potentially flow through there. The last 2 years have really been challenging for state government, and I think we've come through it well, and a lot of it I think you have to give a lot of credit to the leadership that Governor Ivey has given us in this last 2 years, both with the situation, as you talked about, COVID, with the situation we have in our prison system, that are things that we need to address. Our budget has been really, really good. We've had, I think this year our general fund budget will be a little less than $3 billion, and our education trust fund budget a little more than $8 billion. So $3 billion in general fund, $8 billion in education trust fund.
Well, with that kind of influx of revenue, I'm sure there are many places where that money can be well spent. But before we go into detail about that, we're going to take a short break and come back and talk specifically about where we're spending our money and why we're spending it, where we're spending it. How about that? We're going to take a quick break and be right back with State Representative Jim Hill in just a few minutes. Don't go away. Welcome back to Our Issues Birmingham. I'm talking with State Representative Jim Hill about what's going on in Montgomery. So we know it sounds like we're flush with money, and to some degree, odd to even say those words in this context, but I know we got about $800 million in COVID relief funds. How was that spent? A lot of people think it was spent on things that weren't specifically related to COVID. Can you shed some light on that?
Sure, be glad to. First, Tony, it is my belief that yes, we're flush right now, but we're flush right now, I think, to a large extent because of the influx of federal money. Will we always be? Will there be a drop? I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see and adjust at that time. It is my opinion, though, that COVID money that we're getting in here needs to be invested in a manner that pays long-term dividends. Some of the ways that we have invested that money are broadband. People need broadband service all throughout this state. It's a necessity of modern life. We have invested it in, or in the process of investing it in both water and sewer treatment, fresh water, delivery of fresh water, drinking water, and delivery of sewer. There are areas in this state that have deplorable conditions as it deals with water and with sewer, and so we're investing there. We're also investing in healthcare. Another area that we put the money, Tommy, that I think we need to talk about is we put a large amount of money into the construction of 2 new prison facilities in this state. And again, to me, that is an investment. Most of the people that go to prison, the vast majority of them are going to come out of prison. And the prisons that we have today are simply inadequate to deal with the type of prisoner that we now have. They are antiquated. Many of our prisoners are housed in large, almost barrack type facilities, similar to what I was housed in at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, back in 1970. But
yes, Joel Dillard told me that you saved him from being the worst recruit in the, I forget what he said, but Joel Dillard did tell me that you saved him.
I'm not responsible for Joel Dillard, but he's a good friend. He's a good guy. But we have prisoners that are in there with substance abuse issues with very little education, with very little training. They're going to come out. What we want to do is them to not get into a situation where they are where they reoffend, go back to prison. So I think it's important that we deal with these folks in prison with the issues that they have, so that when they come out, the goal would be low recidivism, right? So that's what we want, Tommy. So I've heard people criticize us for putting some of the COVID money into the prisons. I just disagree. I think it's infrastructure that we need. We are without question overcrowded. We are understaffed. I think part of the reason we're understaffed is because the conditions within the prison, as is brought up in this federal lawsuit, may well fall below, Fourth Amendment constitutional deprivations, and that also works on us trying to get employees to work in that facility. So that facility needs to be safe and humane for the individual that's incarcerated, but it needs to be safe and humane for the individual that we have in there supervising them. So to me, spending that money on some of that money on developing or building these prisons was a good expenditure, because again, it's going to pay long-term dividends, just like broadband will, like freshwater will, like investment in healthcare will. These are the things that I want to see us put our money, our COVID type money into. It doesn't need to be in expenditures that are sort of come and go, or not, that don't have a long-term ramification, long-term benefit.
And there's no limitations from the federal government when they give you those funds in terms of how it can be used?
Yes, there are, and we try to stay within those parameters.
And I assume we have. Part of what you're talking about. I know the facility in Perry County, for example.
That was a good investment of our money, Tommy, because you're familiar with dips and dunks, and you're familiar with those sanctions. And prior to this time, we were oftentimes holding those just in our county jails. If we can put those in a single facility or several facilities where they're rolling in and out, I think it will be very efficient. It'll give us the opportunity to sanction people who need to be sanctioned for a short period of time, and then roll them back out into society. I'm very much supportive of the Perry County purchase and the investment. You'll have to ask Cam Ward if we're going to do any others. I don't know, but I think those are good investments. They'll last for a long time.
Some people don't understand a dip and a dunk is somebody that may be on probation and has a minor infraction,
Right.
and they're brought back before the judge, and sometimes the only option the judge has is to revoke the probation, impose some extended sentence, and when that happens, it's overkill for the infraction. So what you're talking about is just a sanction, so to speak, when you use that expression, dip and dunk. Well, I know the state legislature is currently in session, and I know you're not in session today on the day that we're taping. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. I'd like to talk about what's going on down there when you get back in session next week. This is Our Issues Birmingham. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Our Issues Birmingham, talking with State Representative Jim Hill from District 50. So legislative bodies in session beginning, I guess, Tuesday. Is that right? Is that how that works? What's going on down there that we should expect to come out of this particular session? For example, how many days are left? That would be one question.
We have 7 legislative days left. So those are 7 meeting days. We will obviously have within there committee meetings that don't count against the session days. What I'm certainly more keyed in with the judicial part of it, Tommy, than I am the rest. Will we see a a bill on the lottery. It's come out of committee in the House. I would not be surprised to see it on the floor of the House in the next, in the next few days. I think we will see. We've gotten several bills out of the House that I'd like to see get out of the Senate. Since you say you may air this Sunday, let me put a little plug in. I think we ought to split sentences, Tommy. If we split a guy, say 15, split 3, and he goes in to be revoked, right now he must be revoked for the ballots, which is 12. One of the things that I would like to see us do is split that sentence that is more appropriate with what he has done to get him revoked. So perhaps split him for a year, split him for 2 years. I would like to see that come out.
So give judges more discretion in that setting.
Judicial discretion. I would like to see us expand community corrections to every single circuit in this state. We have it in a lot of circuits, but there are some that don't. And community corrections is an alternative sentencing program, but it does so much more. It is the platform upon which programs like specialty courts, drug court, mental health court, veterans court rest, and they rest well in community corrections. In my county, we've actually folded the court referral officer, the CRO, municipal court program, under community corrections. So we have it in one area, under one umbrella, and we find that to be very beneficial. I would like to see us re-employ retired judges, because one thing COVID has done is it has put a tremendous backlog in our judicial system.
Very true.
We have not had we have gone a period of time without jury trials, without grand juries, and it's been a very difficult thing. And I would like to see us bring in some interim judges in order to fill that gap. I'm glad that we've got a bill that'll come up Tuesday, Tommy, that will deal with more transparency in our municipal courts. And municipal, you're city. Are you still a city judge, Tommy?
No, I sat for 15 years before I was asked not to come back.
Okay, but
by a voicemail, I might add.
Just like the municipal court handles the bulk of the criminal justice that goes on in this state. There needs to be transparency in municipal courts.
Also, the individual. Most individuals' only contact with the legal justice system is municipal court. Not everybody gets indicted in federal court or state court.
I agree with that. And I think we need more interaction with AOC, the Administrative Office of Courts, and with our municipal courts. AOC obviously interacts well with our district circuit courts and our appellate level courts. But municipal courts, there's so many, and they're so varied and so scattered and so diverse in population and financial backing and just many other things, depending on where you are, the city that you're in. And I think we need our municipal courts more tied under the AOC umbrella.
Well, as you know, Brookside has been the subject matter of using the court system to finance a lot of things. And I guess that is under an umbrella of something that I think Mr. Archibald started looking at, which was the criminalization of poverty. And you get caught up in this wheel that you can't get out of in some jurisdictions. Like Jefferson County has 34, 5, 6 municipal courts. I can't imagine how many, I don't know what the total number is statewide, but are you saying they don't have accountability to AOC?
I would like to see them report. What this bill does is report the finances, the money that they collect into AOC. And I realize that Brookside brought a lot of this, say, to a head, but most of our municipal courts, in fact, the vast majority of them, the judges there are lawyers. They strive to do a good job. They want to give people a fair hearing and justice. Maybe it takes something like this to bring it to our attention that we need to make sure we're looking at.
Okay. Well, later I'm interviewing the executive director of the Medical Cannabis Commission, Is there any movement expected this legislative session with respect to medical marijuana in the state of Alabama?
No, I don't think so. Not other than that which we've already done.
Well, you mean allowing for medicinal medical marijuana?
I think they're in the process of getting everything set up. It's not a quick or easy transition.
No, not at all.
I have a lot of confidence in John McMillan, and I think he will do a good job.
Well, I've talked to him a couple of times, and I'm about to interview him, and he sounds like he's very much enthusiastic and engaged in trying to get that up and running properly and regulated properly so that the right people are in the position to operate I guess you call them dispensaries.
Dispensary distribution. It just it's like everything else. You have to be careful, and you've got to oversee it. We've seen what not overseeing opioids has done, haven't we?
Yeah.
And we need to make sure we do a good job of this.
Well, thank you for being with us today. We're now out of time, so I'm gonna have you back though, because I enjoy talking with you, and you bring us insight. You bring us insight into things that our viewership would never really pay attention to or know about. So thanks for taking the time to be with us. This is Our Issues Birmingham. So long, Jim.